Well, welcome back again this week. You'll recall that last week I showed a section from the New York Times asking where is the snow gone? Is we ever going to see snow again? And that the fact that, they say it's a fact, that we're running out of places to hold the Winter Olympics. Well, I guess the citizens of New York have found where the snow is this week. I guess it's one of those things to be careful what you ask for. So it looks like the New York Times has snow on its face, so to speak, about that article. Some of the things that have been happening lately that have been in the news have ramifications for future treaties with other countries, such as the Transatlantic Trade and Investment Partnership. Now, they don't call it a treaty, but in fact it will be a treaty in implementation. They're just having both houses vote on it in Congress because both houses have to regulate international commerce. But they slip a lot of other things into the mix besides trade. In fact, 80% of the structure of these agreements, these partnerships, have nothing to do with what you and I would consider free trade. At any rate, the thing is that when you use the term partnership, it does mean something. And a shorter word for partnership is merger. That's what happens when you form partnerships. And so this is what's going on in not only the Transatlantic Trade and Investment Partnership, but the Trans-Pacific Partnership as well. At least that's an embryo NAFTA for the Pacific, if you will. But in regard to the TTIP in the Atlantic with the European Union, there's something very sinister that's starting to show itself in some of the things that the European Union is doing. Because if we get involved with the European Union, we will be involved in, again, a partnership, merging a number of different things besides the economic aspects of our country. The economic aspects are the first layer, and that was what they used to put the EU together with in the first place. It was hidden behind the idea of free trade and economic merger. But now there are a lot of things that the countries can no longer do because of the policies of the European Union. However, one of the things that just happened yesterday before we filmed this is that the Belgium Parliament passed a law, and the King of Belgium is going to sign it, authorizing euthanasia on children. Now, I find that to be very dangerous. That whole attitude is starting to permeate across Europe. Germany practices euthanasia, for instance. Even though it may not be on the books as being legal, it is widely practiced and people look the other way. These are the reports that we get out of Germany from German citizens. At any rate, these are the sorts of things that are, like I say, the attitude in Europe. And is becoming the attitude in the United States. And each one of these steps ratchets up the disregard for life amongst the government and population. It started with abortion. It started with euthanasia of the elderly. Now they're doing it with the children. It's a very dangerous thing to have in any government to legalize those sorts of things. One of the primary functions of government is to protect life, all life. If you start to debate about it, then you're getting into trouble because it can waver up and down with each passing administration as to when life begins, what consists of life, and who should be eliminated. Hitler would have loved it. At any rate, another thing that has come into the European Parliament and passed this past week is that they are going to ratify the United Nations Arms Trade Treaty. Now, we have not done that yet. Obama supports it, loves it, had Secretary of State Kerry sign it, but it has not yet come before the Senate of the United States because they know they don't quite have the votes for it. Regardless of the argument for this treaty, it is a fact that it will regulate private small arms ownership by a private individual. Complete violation of the Second Amendment of our Bill of Rights. And this is the danger that we see in formulating these partnerships with larger entities like the EU that will affect our Bill of Rights. There are other aspects to this that I'd like to draw into this discussion, because this is not just limited to this one little sliver of where they are trying to do away with the Bill of Rights in our Constitution through international agreements, through international processes, even education. One of the things, just for your own information, if you study what is called Common Core, the new curriculum of the schools around the nation that they're trying to establish, you will find that some of the textbooks that are approved by Common Core do not teach the Bill of Rights as the Bill of Rights is actually written. It is changed, it's altered, and it creates a whole different idea within the student's mind of what the Bill of Rights actually says. For instance, the Second Amendment particularly. In fact, I saw one that is a Common Core approved history book wherein they teach the Second Amendment as being the right of the citizen to bear arms in a militia. That's not what it says. But that's the mindset that people leave with when they leave school. That, yeah, you can own a private firearm if you're part of a militia. Well, we don't have militias anymore, so what's the sense? That's the kind of thing that they're trying to permeate within the thinking of the average student today. These treaties are very, very dangerous, and they extend across the whole sphere of economic and social life. And to get a better idea of what's going on with these free trade agreements, I urge that you send for this book that I wrote called International Merger by Foreign Entanglements. Now that sounds awful dry, doesn't it? And if I say so myself, it's not dry. It's an easy read. It's a fun read from the standpoint of what you'll learn. It's not fun from the very things that you're going to be learning, but it is a quotable read. You'll be able to discuss the issue very well after reading this book just one time. International Merger by Foreign Entanglements. Please send for your copy today, and then I'm sure that you'll want to get additional copies for your friends, family, and any opinion molders in your community. Until next week, we'll see you then.